doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you, Donnie?
Not too bad. I gotta fix my chair. You know, we really need to get you a better chair. We need to get other guests better chairs.
I think this is just fine.
When we redo this whole thing, we're gonna get better chairs. I promise you that.
I'm just happy to finally be here. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's your first time.
It is.
What's your first time ever here?
Yeah, I know. I'm very impressed with how it all looks.
College life.
Yes.
Okay, so you are. Well, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit here, but you are a Penn State student currently in the film field down there. So
Yes.
tell us a little about your college life through the first year.
Yes, so I just went out to University Park State College back in January. I went out a semester early because of my major requiring me to do so. And since I could say it was a great experience to start out, and sadly, obviously, we got hit with the coronavirus, so we were sent home after spring break and everything. But up until that point, it was really cool to be in the classroom and actually get like a hands-on experience with the cameras and things that we were using. At first, we were using a DVX 200, I think it was called. It was like a big red camera, but it was like an actual. It looked like an actual movie camera. And I mean, I'm just entering into the major. I grew up loving movies, not realizing how much work gets put into movies and the behind the scenes of it all. So like, I think those are two different things that I have come to learn. That would be the biggest thing that I've learned so far, is that there's a difference between loving film and having a passion for film, and then actually being passionate enough to make film. I mean, I'm sure you know how that is. So being there in person was really, really cool, especially to be in like the big campus area setting and actually see others that are just as engaged as you or as interested as you, and like have the same conversations that you think like sometimes, oh, nobody's interested in those conversations. I actually hear them talk about those same things. I thought that was really cool. I've had a great professor thus far. Her name's Dr. West, shout out. She has been my intro to filmmaking professor since January, but then luckily I've gotten to have her again this semester for a public humanities class that has a lot to do with filmmaking techniques and such, but focuses more on public humanities, but through like a filmmaking aspect. But as in regards to like everything I've gotten to do so far through it, being sent home was a setback, but it allowed all of us in our class to innovate and make use of what we had. I used my cell phone or my iPhone with a makeshift tripod. It was like a tripod, like a $20 tripod from Amazon, but I pretty much just used it and did a bunch of like tracking shots, like handheld kind of things, nothing really stationary. And my shot composition and things like that weren't the greatest, but it also allowed me, and I think I said this on a previous podcast, it gave me the chance to shoot my two first short films with my best friends here in Berwick when everything was going on, and we probably shouldn't have been together, but we were trying to be as safe as possible in doing so. And there were even setbacks with that, and it caused us to just have to, like I said, innovate and also just learn to maneuver all these difficulties. So I think that having to learn what it's like to do this in a pandemic, and how much harder it was or is in a pandemic, only will make it easier for us maybe when things return to normal. But continuing on with this year so far, that was last semester that I got to make the short films with my best friends. Over the summer I didn't really spend too much time doing too many things that were film related. I had some ideas of things that I wanted to do myself and get more experience with, and like I at some point want to hopefully work with you guys or you. But now this semester I've been lucky enough that some of my classes are in person, some of them are still online, but I have to say the one thing that Penn State has done fairly well, which I was very skeptical about at first, was, at least I've been one of the lucky ones in this, was trying to give the best experience to us through all of this, and trying to make the classes worthwhile and actually like worth our money, or seen that way at least. And to me, I think that they've accomplished that. As far as I have two film classes, Com 338, Com 340. One's like a narrative filmmaking class, the other one's like a technical aspect of it, like the behind the scenes, like how is this scene lit, or how do you light it, what is the sound design on it. More so behind the scenes than our narrative filmmaking class is actually like, I got to write the script for the movie that we shot, or like the short film that we shot all throughout this semester now, and worked with as like a team that will be edited together over the next few weeks leading up to the end of the semester. So both of those classes have given me different experiences overall, but both have been, I'd say, equally rewarding and have taught me a lot. also at the same time too, the downfall to all this is I haven't gotten the full experience as some other students have. I feel like that has set me back, and now maybe as things return to normal in the future and I move on with film classes that are more advanced, it scares me because I feel like I'm going to be behind and not know exactly what I'm doing, whereas there are going to be some other people that know exactly what they're doing. But the thing that I could say that I've learned also that to make myself better is just teach yourself. There's plenty of opportunities and just chances to learn more about the subject at hand, film or anything relating to it, through things like YouTube or just online or just reading books and textbooks in general. And a lot of the greats that you see filmmaking or filmmakers, they've done a lot of it themselves. Like didn't go to college or they just watched people, they learned themselves, they read, they went out and they shot what was bad at first or what they considered to be garbage or not good, and every I think filmmaker sees that as they progress in their work, but having seen that and then inspiring them to move forward and get better and better as time goes on, that's something I think that just comes with teaching yourself that you can't learn in school. So I feel like the best of both worlds, having to learn what it's like through a very hard time, and I can't talk. There have been so many other people that have had experiences worse than I have had or struggled worse than I have had. I really haven't. I don't mean to talk like I'm in any bad position whatsoever. I've been very lucky and fortunate, and I appreciate that, and I don't take that for granted. But I've learned a lot through all of this, and I'm looking forward to move forward and continue on with film and video at Penn State. Like I said, my professor that I've had thus far in that class and the other professors that I've had for the narrative filmmaking and the technical aspects of filmmaking, they've been very nice, very hands-on, and they want us to be more in person, and they're okay with having to settle with lowering the class sizes, but having to teach more classes to get us all in there to make sure that we have those hands-on experiences that we need, because really a lot of the stuff you can't learn over Zoom. It's hard. You need to be hands-on doing it yourself, and I'm one of the few lucky ones that has gotten to experience that. So, yeah, I'm very lucky.
See, when I went to Bloomsburg University, I can go back to at least Du Bois Business College, where we had the more consistent way of filmmaking. Du Bois was strictly for film. Of course, Bloomsburg was more telecommunications, journalism. So we never had specific courses designed. Yes. But we had the broad idea of it. Now you get to dwell in all these different paths, like you said, about the lighting, the cinematography, and of course the sound design and pre-production, post-production. Do you find yourself pulled to one area? And the reason I'm going to ask that is because I don't know if I told you this or anybody else, but when I was growing up, trying to figure out if I was going to be a writer or if I was into robotics or what I was into. Yeah. It was really behind the scenes that really drew me in, and specifically Star Wars behind the scenes that I always talk about. And I always thought to myself, man, I want to be the behind the scenes. And I kind of am. I'm the director, of course, but I thought it would be so cool to build these props and the sound stages and everything else. Do you feel yourself pulled to one area, or do you always kind of want to be director, writer, or do you find something cool and fascinating that you're like, man, I never thought I would like this better?
So it's funny you say that. The one thing that I really love and enjoy and am passionate about is, I'd say, screenwriting. I feel like that comes easy. I know that's not really, I guess that is one of the technical aspects, or the behind the scenes aspects. I mean, you can't have a film without a screenplay or something to go off of. Screenwriting has been something that I've been passionate about. I can trace back to 2013. That was when I first started working on my first screenplay, which I know I've told a million people that I'd have finished by now. Still has not been finished. It's a passion project of mine, something that it's just my first, it's my baby, I want it to be perfect, but yet I find myself always procrastinating on it and not getting it done. The cool thing with Penn State is that through film and video, you get the chance to learn directing, producing, cinematography, and screenwriting. So they give you that very broad category of all these aspects, and you get to choose from those broad categories what you want to specify in, or just learn it all. And through a lot of these classes, Intro to Filmmaking kind of taught us the basics of it all, so that we could go forward and pick and choose what we want from there. But I guess my main focus would be screenwriting. I really am passionate about it. I have, I think, a lot of good ideas. Like, as soon as I hear something that someone says, and I think I've said this on previous podcasts as well, like, I write notes on my phone, I'll go back and, like, sort them into files on my computer or save them in my flash drive or anything like that. The thing that has made me question what I like and what I want to do has been going through these classes, but I think that that's been a good thing. Being able to, because in a lot of these classes we've taken turns as like being the director, the DP, the sound boom pole person, you know, different jobs and responsibilities, and like getting to see that and actually be hands on with it and do it ourselves. It has given me much insight into like, do I really want to do this? Can I really do this? Is this for me? But those are the best questions to ask, because I mean, you don't want to do something you are incapable of or that you don't enjoy. So I think that that's a really good question that college has caused me to reflect upon myself. But then again, like, I see the thing that inspires me and causes me to keep moving forward is like, there are days where I'm like, I don't think this is for me. I don't think maybe I can do this. I think maybe just I love movies and I don't want to be a filmmaker or something like that. But then I do something with someone, or someone helps me do something, and I see for like a split second like what that thing could be, or the potential that that thing has, and that's what keeps me moving forward, thinking that, okay, maybe this is for me. Maybe I do have like a voice or an eye in this. So I think I don't like what I tell people when they ask me what I want to do. I say I want to get into screenwriting and directing. Screenwriting would be number one, directing would be number two. I need a lot more experience in both, and I need a lot more practice with both. I'm not a professional by any means, but in regards to like if I have a favorite, I would say it is getting to screenwrite and getting the chance to direct and tell people what to do and how you want to see that portrayed on screen. I think that's really, really neat.
Do you feel like, and I'm not really going to call back to my college days, but of course, I worked with a lot of, obviously you're working with peers, I'm working with peers.
Yes. When
it comes to college, and like, you know, when you're first starting off in this field, do you feel like, where do you feel like you're at right now in the class? Like, do you feel like you're middle? Do you feel like you're top? Do you feel like you're bottom?
With everything that's been going on, it's very hard to tell because, you know, everybody's work seems a little bit more subpar than it should be, just because we've had to, you know, innovate again and do things on our own. We've gotten to rent out. They've given us these, I don't know the exact name of it. I should know the exact name of it. Just these small like handheld cameras and stuff, and like Tascam recorders and such to do work outside of the classroom ourselves, whether that be like interviews or filmmaking with others, any of those things. And to answer your question, like, of course, nobody's gonna probably say that, oh, I'm the best, like I'm at the top. I don't think I'm medium either. I think I am definitely at the bottom, because going into it last semester, I saw that there were people that were more experienced than me, more talented than me for sure. But that doesn't discredit you. I think that encourages you more so. And it also gives you a chance to reach out to those people and find out what you're doing wrong, what you need to improve upon. The greatest thing so far has been the feedback from everybody. Because what I've come to find, regardless, I haven't experienced anybody like, at least in high school, there was always like that cocky person that told you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, or like, you know, made you feel like below. In college, you really don't get that. I don't think anyway. I think everybody's very encouraging of one another, and they want to see you succeed. As far as professors and stuff go as well, I mean, my grades maybe put me in like, sure, like the medium top part of the class, like I got 90s or 95s or things like that. But it's more so if you show up to the class, you get a good grade. If you are, you know, like not volunteering, but participating, like you get a good grade. So they don't really grade you harshly, and they just want to see you excel and be better than you were at the beginning of the semester, at the beginning of the class. And I think that that's both good and bad, because obviously you could show up and just like hold something and be like, oh yeah, I'm an expert filmmaker, but then again, you're not going to go out and be the next Scorsese or something like that. So you know, there's pros and cons to it all. I don't know where I'd rank myself, to be honest. I would, if I had to, it would definitely be, I'd say, between like bad and medium, or like, you know, right in the middle there. I feel like I'm definitely further than I was at the start. I know more than I did, but could I go out tomorrow all by myself, shoot a feature-length film and know exactly what I'm doing? No. And I think that just takes years and years of experience. But do I feel confident in the years to come? Yes. So.
Well, the reason why I ask you that is not to be like self-confident or self-boasting or whatever. It's because you always got to look back at what you've done. okay, and like look at yourself. It's kind of like an evaluation. Okay, I do this with every film. It's like, am I progressing? Am I progressing? I would say since Visions of Truth, I've taken off, but Visions of Truth to me was my worst film I've ever put out. Okay,
I still think it's good.
Well, thank you. But it's one of those issues where it's like I saw the chance for cinematography, but I didn't capitalize on the story. So my focus moving forward was story, and the cinematography came with it. When I ask you that, because and you put yourself down there like middle to like low end of the spectrum, but to me, I base everything, especially in college, off enthusiasm, work ethic, and drive. So where do you think you fall on for those issues?
That's a good way to rank it as well. So you said enthusiasm, drive, and
enthusiasm, drive, and basically aspiration.
Yeah, aspiration. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like I am definitely. I aspire to be better than I was yesterday or the day before or anything like that. And I always look forward to the future. I'm very optimistic, and I always, how you said, you like to compare past work and everything I do in every aspect of my life. I constantly think about like, okay, where was I in high school compared to where I'm at now? Do I like myself more than I did now? And that's not like, not to be like self-conscious about yourself, but to show how much you've matured or have grown as a person. I think that that's very important to understand and realize, especially like if you have a bad day or something like that. And I know I'm getting off the filmmaking.
Well, no, because if you can't do that, then you'll never grow.
Exactly. I think that goes into every aspect along with filmmaking too. If that's what you want to do, you need to be able to evaluate yourself and see that growth. You can't just assume that you're good at all those things. So as far as aspirations go, yes, I feel like I am very confident that I am like ready to continue and look forward. As far as like motivated and such, it's kind of hard now with everything that's going on. I feel like if things were normal, maybe I would be a little bit more motivated. There are so many ideas that I have that I know I could probably tackle if I just put myself out there, did it, reached out to people to help me out. I mean, I know I have you on speed dial essentially that I could call you anytime, ask you any question, but have I done any of those things? Like I haven't asked you too many questions. I should take advantage of those people that are around me that are willing to help me out because it's only going to help me grow. And that's the advice I'd give to anybody is just take advantage of the people that are around them and let those people motivate you. Like not that you don't have to put in the work yourself, that they'll carry you or anything like that, but just, utilize what you have around you. I think that that's very, it's a very good thing to have. So I forget what the other thing it was. Sorry.
Enthusiasm, drive, and
aspiration. So yeah, I'd say enthusiasm is along the lines of motivation, and my drive then would be that I can just, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, that like seeing that tiny little aspect of like a project and seeing what it could be or what it was or something like that, or just having like the dream behind it. I think that that's enough of a drive to keep you going and to keep you wanting more, and continue to work hard to get to where you want to be. I mean, you said you've seen yourself improve from your very first film, and I've seen that too as well. I mean, I thought your first film was good, so to like only for you to think that that's bad and then continue and see that what I think is really good, you probably might think is like less than good. It's like, I mean, everybody's, going to be judgmental of their own craft. I mean, I am too. I mean, I constantly look at it. I mean, I like when people give me compliments and things like that, but I got to take that with a grain of salt too, because it's like, okay, that's family and friends complimenting me, like, wanting to tell me that I did good and whatnot. But, if...
Never trust friends and family
when it comes
to critiquing.
I know. And then, hearing professors and classmates are a lot more helpful. Just because they will tell you straight up, what you need to improve upon. And even me, like, we have to give critiques of our classmates' work and things when we present them in class. I'm very, like, laid back when I do it. I should be harder. Like, there are things that I want to say, but I don't because I'm like even though they're anonymous, like our teacher or our professor takes those critique sheets that we write out and submit, and they split them up and then send them to each of us individually, but they're anonymous from everybody, so you don't know who they came from. But like, I never want to be that person that was like, that was terrible, you should change that. I like try to give them like the best, like I've tried to say it in the best possible way, but you need to get that criticism. You need to hear that. But I don't mean to get off topic about the enthusiasm and drive and aspiration, but I guess that's where I'd fall in each of those categories.
You talk about critique. I think, again, you nailed it when it comes to critique. You've got to be able to, accept the critique in order for you to get better, and especially using outside sources. There's one time I sent a one of my videos to. I'm in this artist group in Los Angeles. Somebody was able to get me into.
Oh, really?
So, and it's basically for like housing.
Yeah.
But like they talk about films and like gigs and stuff like that. So every now and then I'll throw like a new film in there and say, hey, can you guys review it? I get some feedback and stuff like that. I'm working on getting a few of them to come on the podcast virtually. So
That'd be cool.
it's a work in progress, but. It's fascinating to get their critique and get critique from the people in the field or aspiring to be in the field as well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, getting critiques from classmates. Before I ask you what your best and worst critique ever was, I'm going to state something that stuck in my head. And maybe this sounds judgmental. One of the worst critiques I ever had was from a student, and this goes back to the Fight For Me days. When I did Fight For Me last year, I was using green screen. I was doing all sorts of stuff like this and trying to go above and beyond other students. But obviously, I had previously came from a film school, so to go to Bloomsburg University, where they necessarily didn't, like, a lot of these kids were just learning the basics all around instead of just, like, film. What irritated me the most was my worst critique I ever got from that was, I showed the whole Fight For Me clip, whatever, and people gave their critiques like, oh, well, I wish I could see a little bit better, it was a little bit dark. We had to shoot it that way because of how the scenery was set.
Yeah.
But the kid that had previously gone before me, that shot everything off his cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
Told me, he's like, oh, I would have chosen a different shot than that.
Yeah. No.
I was like, really? That's my biggest pet peeve when it comes to that. But what is your best or worst critique you've ever had so far?
That's a good question because I don't have the answer to both. I'd have to honestly sit down and think about that because, like I've said just before, like, classmates and teachers have been very lenient thus far when it's come to these things. I mean, it's just pretty much like small nitpicky things like music or editing or like, I guess the biggest thing would be the second short film that I shot was something that I had written. It was a story that I had written when I was in high school and I really loved it. And I thought, okay, I want to do something with this one day at some point in time. I want to make it into a short film, maybe even a feature-length film, but it had that short film potential. And I really didn't think, this is one of those things where like you have to analyze where you're at now and look back on it. Like just 3 years ago, I was a senior in high school and I wrote this story and like I was like, oh yeah, there'll be years down the road. And little did I know that my sophomore year of college, I'd be making it into a short film. And it took a lot of time and effort and coordination and having to reshoot things that were like, what do you call it when things don't match in like different shots? The continuity. Yeah, there were so many different things that we had to go back and reshoot. And I felt so bad because these were my best friends and I'm asking them to go through so much. But then again, at the same time, because they were my best friends, it was like, you guys can handle it. You guys can take it. So, getting to do something like that, where it just started out as something small in high school and then making it into actually like a your own in college was something that I thought was really, really cool and a great experience to get to do so. But, your classmates and your professor I guess your professor more so because of check-ins and stuff like that we had in the class knew what I had to go through. But a lot of people in the class, they were from cities or like other areas where their family were very like conscious about coronavirus. Not to say that it shouldn't be taken seriously, but a lot of people were just like secluded to their own house, and it was like a lot of, to me, and I don't mean to offend anybody if I don't think any of my friends from Penn State will hear this, but I don't even know if I consider them just friends or colleagues at this point.
It will if you share and click that like button. Anyways.
Yes, I don't mean to.
Great way into it.
Yeah. I guess that's a good point. But I don't want to like hurt their feelings at all. But like they didn't really go out. They just used like a lot of things that they did, whether it be documentaries or their like experimental, or not, I guess they weren't experimental, but like their narrative films. So this is gonna just go. I hope you don't mind. Like this is so.
No, go ahead because I'm gonna say something that probably will offend people.
Okay, all right. So our third film that we made last semester, that was supposed to be a documentary film, but because we got sent home, we had the choice to make it either a narrative film or a documentary film. Everybody chose boring stock footage and did a boring documentary about coronavirus. It put everybody, to me, it made me more depressed than I already, like, not that I was, but, like, it just put you in more of a depressed state than anything. And then here I come. I thought I was maybe going to be, I didn't know how it was going to be perceived. I was so scared. I was one of the last ones to go in the class. I made a satire about coronavirus called Anorak, just Corona spelled backwards, and it was just like supposed to be a little comedy thing about how like the toilet paper shortage and everything like that was going on. It was just like this couple arguing about what to get in the store because there was a shortage of things, but they were getting like the most non-essential things possible. And I just tried to be funny in 2 to 3 pages, and I thought I succeeded in that regard. But then when it came to the technical aspect of it, people would critique you and things like that and tell you what you did wrong. But it was like, okay, well, you sat at home and used stock footage. Well, I went out and tried to shoot and like actually try to do something. And that's not, we were limited, so I'm not critiquing anybody in that regard. But then when it came to the narrative filmmaking, that was something we were able to do at our home or use the people around us to do. Again, I went out with my friends and tried to do things in our hometown, whereas like everybody else kind of just stayed at home and did something around their home. And some people were really cool. Like this one girl that I'm working with now, who's still in my class, she did like stop motion animation and did something like really, really neat with that. And then I'm probably forgetting too, there were probably some others that were really, really neat. I'm not trying to criticize these people whatsoever, but and that's not me like being I don't know what the word would be, like butthurt about a critique, but they're not taking it like maturely, like complaining about everyone else when you get told what you did wrong. But I guess that was just my thing. The worst critique that I've ever had was just, more so like, it is hard to say. Just like,
well, I think it angers you more because the critique that we all kind of remember is not that it's a critique, it's because it's hypocritical when the other person doesn't put out the work and critique you as well.
Yeah.
But what I'm about to say that might offend some people is, especially in the media field, which I graduated. Remember, I wasn't like straight filmmaking. Yes. You're going to be straight filmmaking. We have one of the easiest majors. And I think that hurts us across the board because you can see a lot of people that are coming in for all these different areas, and they don't really necessarily care about the media, but it's I got a degree from college type of job. And I notice that because there's kids that come out and I'm showing my films that I'm trying to get the best out of the college education that I can and the best experience, and there's kids coming in like, oh, I just shot this the night before, and they're getting by, they're just going by in class. Like teachers will pass them. And I understand that. It's like you don't want to ever, as a college, want to lose money, by not passing kids. Although you'd gain more money if you failed kids. But, they always want to pass the kids along through. Yeah. And that's where I think it hurts. And you don't got to speak up on that part if you obviously don't want to. But I feel during my time, you saw half the kids that were there were like wanting to be there. The other half was there for just a degree.
Yeah. I mean, as far as my experience goes, everybody, like, my classes have been very small. It's like 12 to 13 people in each of these classes, some even smaller than that. And these are the filmmaking classes I'm talking about, not like gen ed classes. And it's like, with that small amount, it's nice because everybody wants to like hear what each other has to say, critique, listen to feedback and such. But all of those people are there because they want to be there. At least that's in my experience anyway. I mean, I know you just said something completely different. I haven't seen anything yet where it's like someone just trying to get by or squeeze by or anything like that. They're very serious and it seems dedicated to like maturing their craft, and like I give them props for that we're all there still trying to do that, even with everything going on, and that everybody's sticking with it. Nobody like has moved on to something else, because again, like I said, I'm working with someone now that I worked with last semester, or that I knew last semester. I didn't work with her, but now I'm working with her now. And a couple returning people that I'm going to probably work with throughout the rest of college. So I think we might have two different experiences there, but I completely get that too, because I hear stories about other majors and I see other things where, it could be applied to any major where, people are just there to get there. They think as soon as they get the degree, they're going to get the job like that. And it doesn't work like that. And I think that work ethic will come to bite them in the butt later on down the road. And they might not see that right now. But I think that those people that are dedicated to their work and want to continue with it will excel. I think that's the difference between the two.
No, I agree. No, I completely agree there. But again, that's just my critique from my college experience compared to what yours is. And I'm glad that yours is more like that, because when I was down at Du Bois Business College, everybody was like hands-on, that was strictly film. Like there was like no other core classes. So we were just hands-on film. and we got to really dwell in each other's creativity and feed off each other. We were always watching films. We were always doing this. Like, this was like for 4 hours a day. Like, we had classes for like 8 till like noon each day. Like, just one class all the way through.
Yeah.
So shout out to our professor.
Yeah. Well, I just to say real quick too. That's one thing that I was like nervous about going to Penn State State College. Started out at Hazleton, small classes there and everything too. And I didn't know, how many people are going to be in the film major, how many people are actually going to be in each class. And then getting there and seeing that there's like 12 people and we're all sitting like in this very like square table and we're all like fitting in this very small room. I was shocked. That was like, okay, this is going to be like, because I excel more so when I don't get lost in the class. Like in a mass lecture when there's 300 people and one professor, I'm not going to have the confidence to go out and talk to that professor. I mean, like, maybe I'll email him and stuff, but like, I'm not going to raise my hand in the middle of class and be like, I don't get this, and slow down 300 other people that are faster than me. So it's nice. And I mean, those are gen ed classes that didn't really matter, in my opinion anyway. In a filmmaking class, I'd obviously raise my hand because I'm paying for the education, or, my parents are helping me pay for the education. So, that's a lot more important and crucial. But, having that smaller class size also allows for the one-on-one and you to raise your hand whenever you want with whatever you need and not have to feel like, insecure or like scared to do so. So I think that that's really cool. I think that's also like a factor into all of it as well, like how big your class size is, what the environment's like, what the vibe is like. So yeah, just figured I'd add that in there. I know it's a little bit off topic.
So let's talk a little bit about movies in 2020. There really hasn't been a lot to show forth. You saw Tenet without me, obviously. We'll bypass that. Logan's, I'm sure, pissed at you too. So, Tenet. Any other movies that you're considering for a very shortened Academy Award list in 2021?
So there hasn't been too many to choose from. Tenet, I would definitely say, is up there. I mean, at the beginning of the year, it started out, it was really cool. I remember like Bad Boys for Life and Birds of Prey. Like, those were really cool movies. Even Sonic, like, that was one that's surprised the heck out of me.
That surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
After they made the changes?
Yeah, I think that was a publicity stunt. I think that was prepared, by the way.
You think so?
I think so. I think they did that to get a lot of people to talk about it.
They did that for the Genie in Aladdin then, too.
Yeah, I think it worked for both.
You think that's actually a publicity stunt? Or do you think that's just good feedback so they don't look like idiots when it comes out?
I think...
Not saying that anybody professional ever looks like idiots, but...
No, I get that. I think the Genie thing... I don't know about the Genie thing with the Aladdin, because I think they might have went in with the confidence thinking like, oh yeah, this looks great. And then
you saw the first like Will Smith pose as the Genie.
Oh yeah, yes.
What was worse, the first the first Genie or the first Sonic? Which one had the?
Oh, easily the first Sonic. I thought. I mean, not that I like played some of the games when I was younger on like Game Boy and stuff like that, but I never was like passionate about it. Where like I saw the design and I was like, oh my god, I can't watch that movie if that's how it comes out. But I knew that it looked awfully different than from what the game was. And then once I saw them do the redesign, I was like, oh okay, that actually looks really good. And I think that paid off financially if you look at the like box office receipt. I did pretty well, but those were a few. I mean, I'm trying to think right now. I remember like Onward, that Disney Pixar movie. That one I really, really enjoyed. There were some small movies throughout too that I know I'm definitely going to be forgetting here, but I know like I just watched on Amazon Prime Borat, the new Borat. I thought that was very funny. Tenet was another one that really cool that I got to see in theaters, and I'm sorry that we'll make up for it at some point. I promise.
I'm just upset that they can't, or that they postponed the. What was that? I just blanked. I had in my head. What was that one? A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place 2, yes. Yeah, no, I was so looking forward to that too, and that was going to be like the week after like the virus blew up too, and it was like we just missed that one. But I was really looking forward to that. As far as Tenet goes, to talk a little bit about that, I don't want to spoil anything to anybody who hasn't seen it. I highly recommend it. I was that guy, and I am that guy about every movie that I walk out of not understanding, and I'm sometimes angry when that happens, because I feel like as a film person I'm required to understand every movie I go into, and when I don't, I'm frustrated, especially when someone that's not a film person will come out with me. Like, I have a ton of my close friends that will come out and be like, they'll explain to me what happened, and I'll be like, how do you get that? And I'm the one that watches all the movies, and I don't even get that. So Tenet was one that I knew before I even went in I wasn't going to understand it coming out. I saw the reviews, I would listen to the reviews, I listened to a couple like analysis of it, like spoiler free, people analyzing it, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be one of those that requires at least like a few watches and a bunch of videos to explain what happened. I was like, I'm going to go in with a blank mind, try to get the most out of it, and just go see it. And if it makes you feel any better, I went with my friends, McKelly and Braden. I came back very late. We had to go catch like a 10 o'clock showing, and I had to make it to Penn State that night. So I didn't get back to Penn State till probably like 2 in the morning or something like. Or no, sorry. We went to go see like a 7 or 8 o'clock showing, and it took me until like 12, 1 o'clock to get back to Penn State. So that was a night. But also the thing too, we were the only ones in the theater, which was cool. The lights were on the entire movie up until the last 20 minutes. And so then...
Did they not realize it?
They didn't realize it, but then the movie started, and also all three of us just kind of looked at each other and did the nose goes things as to like who goes out to tell them the lights are still on.
And nobody went.
Nobody went. Because the movie started, and it was one of those movies that was going to require like all your attention. And I was like, I'm not missing this, guys. And they were like, I'm not missing this either. So I was like, okay, well then I guess our eyes are just going to adjust to watching the movie with the lights on. Wasn't the best experience. I definitely want to watch it again with the lights off, or not like lights off, but being able to see it better. Cool thing was, there was a guy waiting for us at the end, which I thought maybe would happen. He had like 3 free tickets for us on the way out. Then a couple months later, we find out that all the Regals are closing temporarily. So, and that's where we saw Regal Hazleton. So, ticket could not be used now.
You get free tickets wherever you go. We went to go see 1917.
Oh, yeah.
We ended up in the same theater.
Night,
and
yes.
Sorry, it didn't download, guys.
Yeah, no, that stunk too, because they like had just played it the day before or something like that, but it didn't work that night. And it took me, actually, I had to watch that. Actually, I remember watching that at our cabin with like some family and friends and stuff like that. But that wasn't until May when I got to watch it. So like 6 months after it finally came out that I got to watch that. But yeah, that was quite the experience too. And there's been a couple times where that's happened, like at the Berwick Theater too. That was before they switched to digital. That was like when they were on the old reels and stuff like that. That would happen a little bit more often. But a couple times at even the big places, obviously like Bloomsburg or Hazleton or things like that. And working at a theater now up at State College, College 9. Shout out there too. There's been some not anything big or drastic or anything like that, but there's issues everywhere you look. But back onto the movie topic of Tenet, one that I'd highly recommend. It will be a mind twister. I've watched, I don't even know how many videos on it, like trying to explain it to me or like having someone explain it to me. And the thing that's so like crazy about it is that like there's such a divide. It's a divisive movie, I think, where people like either consider it garbage, and I think that's because they don't give it enough time to try to look into it more so. And then there's the people that like think it's a masterpiece. I think I'm one of those people that think it's going to be a masterpiece in the years to come, and that people just, I think it was a little bit ahead of its time, and obviously with coronavirus too and everything. Like I think that was one that definitely should have waited to come out. Just like, I mean, financially, I guess, but also too, I saw Christopher Nolan was getting like 60% of the box office return for that, so I could see why he was like pushing to get it out there. Not that I think he's in any financial struggle, but yeah. So one that was definitely one that I highly recommend, and I'm trying to think if I knew this question beforehand, I would have definitely looked through like the list of movies that have come out this year and like what I've seen. I wish I could say.
Well, there's no point looking through the list. I mean, the most memorable was the most memorable.
Yeah.
If you need to look through a list, it's not.
Well, I know, but there were definitely some small ones like here and there that I saw that I just. Well, I know the one that I'm looking forward to. I think we're going to go see this with some friends tomorrow night is Freaky. I don't know if you saw that advertised, but the one with Vince Vaughn is like a horror comedy movie. I'm really looking forward to that because that's the same guy who directed the Happy Death Day movies. I don't know if you ever saw those, but I thought those were really fun, like horror sci-fi comedy movies that like you don't expect the premise to be as solid as it is, and even though they're like repetitive premises from other movies and stuff like that, it's cool to see like a Groundhog Day theme go into a horror theme, and then now it's like Freaky Friday, like which was a Disney comedy turned into like a horror theme there. So I think that those are very innovative, cool things, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm hoping that the end of this year doesn't get postponed because I see on Christmas Day, which I don't know if you saw that too, but Wonder Woman is actually going to be on HBO.
That's what they're claiming.
And the movie theater the same day. I want to see that because that's one movie that has grown on me much. When I first saw Wonder Woman, I was like, that was the most overrated movie ever. And like watching it, more and more as the years have gone on, I really like it. I really enjoyed it. That's another one too, Black Panther. I thought that just got lost in the hype too, but watching that like as years go on as well, I really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to
Black Widow.
Oh, Black Widow. Like that's that might be Disney Plus. I saw.
Are you referencing Black Panther or Black Widow?
Black Panther.
Oh, you're actually referencing Black Panther.
Yeah. Sorry. Wait, were you like?
No, I thought maybe. No,
no. Yeah, no, that's all good. No, I really Black Panther was one that I just thought like was so overhyped, but
gotcha.
Then
No, what confused me was I thought you meant Black Widow because we were talking about still this year.
Oh yeah. No, sorry. Yeah,
when you're talking about I absolutely agree with overhype.
Yeah. But again, there's some movies like that I think as time goes on. But there's like on Christmas Day, there's a movie called News of the World with Tom Hanks coming out. There's also like a very like low key, I think it's like a thriller kind of movie called Promising Young Woman with Carey Mulligan. I've seen the trailers for that, and I think that looks really good. The early reviews for it are supposed to be amazing, but those are like very small movies that like nobody really knows about that were supposed to. Well, I know Promising Young Woman was supposed to be released earlier this year, and now it got postponed to Christmas. So I'm hoping those three still stay the same. I mean, honestly, Wonder Woman, once that gets put on HBO Max, like should probably be put on some like other kind of like website that's maybe not legal, but I don't know if I'll go to the theater to see that, but yeah, the other ones I hope, and I'm just looking to return to the movie theaters, to be honest. Like, I can't wait to go tomorrow if we do end up going, just to be back at like Bloomsburg Theater, because I don't think I've been there since probably 1917 was the last time that I was there, which is crazy that it was a year ago, because I was one of those like AMC rewards members, which is, might be a little bit embarrassing to say, but Are
you still paying for that during the lockdown?
I think they gave us our money back, because I had just renewed it like right around that time, and then I think if I remember correctly,
because if you didn't, I'd be questioning that.
Yeah, I think they gave us the money back. I could be wrong, or if it was just like they stopped it. I'm not sure, but it was so nice because once AMC took it over from, I think it was Carmike before that, they had like $4.99 matinees, $5 Tuesdays, and like $6.99 at night or like onward, or like as time went on, and then 3D movies were only like $8.99 or something like that. And like before that, when it was Carmike, like prices were, if you didn't go during the day, like early in the day, and it was cheaper during the day, if you went at night, it was like over $10 to go see a movie. Like, and it was
they were caught in a bad situation too, because they spent, I want to make sure I get the number right, I think it was $5 billion to go revamp a lot of their theaters.
Carmike?
No.
Oh, AMC.
And this was back in like 2018-ish.
Okay.
So they were just on the borderline of going back into the green from spending all that money, and then the COVID hit. So that's why you almost had the filing of the bankruptcy with AMC.
Oh, all right.
That's really what was hitting them hard, is because they set the whole plan in place, and to make it back in a 5-year period, basically $5 billion.
Yeah.
They did a good plan.
Yeah.
And just the situation we ended up in. So, quick question: do you feel like since there's not going to be an Avengers movie this year?
Yes.
Okay. Is it going to hurt the Avengers, like the brand, more not having a movie, or do you think it's going to actually make it more anticipated for when Black Widow comes out?
I don't think anybody has lost their momentum for their love of Marvel or superheroes, for that matter. I know I haven't. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a huge say Black Widow fan. I don't know much about her. I look forward to every Marvel movie. I remember the first one I saw was Iron Man, the very first like MCU one, at least back in theaters in 2008. My dad took me and my brother, and like that was just like a very small memory stuck in the back of my head. And like then I didn't know that it was going to start like turn into what it did. And then like last year when Endgame came out, I got to see go with like 13, 14 of my like closest best friends to all go sit in an IMAX theater and like watch it together. So like that was just one huge experience that like culminated from years, which was just insane to me, over like 11 years, that you don't even notice that time goes by, but like that little bond that you have with people is really cool over just like your love for movies or love of one thing, or superheroes. So I think that's really cool. I don't think that it's lost its momentum whatsoever. I think those movies will still be just as anticipated, if not more. And I think what Disney's doing with like all their shows, whether it be like Hawkeye or Winter Soldier or Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, like I hear a lot of people, especially one of my very close friends, McKelly, like he's always telling me about those, and I don't know if I'll watch those because like I'm not too much of a TV oriented person. There are some shows that I watch, but I obviously watch a lot more movies, so I'll still be just as excited. I think everyone will be just as excited. I don't know if it'll hurt them if they have to put some of them on streaming services to make back their money, because I think the longer that they wait, obviously they lose more and more money. That's what they did with like Mulan and some of these other big ones that they're putting on streaming services. But and it's hard to say too, because it'll be hard to tell like what if the numbers are indicators of if people are motivated or not, because I think once theaters do start to reopen like everywhere, and like everybody's allowed back in, maybe not full capacity and whatnot, like is everybody going to show back up like the huge hordes? Like I remember, it's crazy to think that a year ago when Endgame was on, I was in a theater of hundreds of people and we're crammed together like this, and now it's like you're only allowed like 25% capacity. That's what it was at our theater at State College, or like maybe 50% capacity. It's going to be hard to tell if people are still motivated, if people still want to see those. I think generally, yes. Will people go out to make the effort to go see them? That's a question.
Well, it'll be a social experiment because
Yeah.
all these streaming services coming out.
Yeah.
You know, do people prefer to watch in the comfort of their own homes?
Yeah.
Or go back? My personal opinion on that was, and I said this, I don't know if I talked to you about this, but I always said if we shut down bowling alleys, theaters, and whatever for just like a decade, like malls, for a decade, when we brought it back, it'd be like the coolest hype thing.
Yeah. No, I think we talked about that on the one we did the AMC podcast. I think you talked about that. But sorry, continue with what you're.
No, I mean that's just my opinion. If we brought it back, it'd be more hyped because then it would be like almost like a memory for our generation to go take our kids or whatever to like. This is what we used to, this is what we used to do. Now that might only last for another 5 years after we reintroduce it, but I think that would be like a cool way to save the theaters. But it's also an interesting social experiment to see if people are going to go back to the theater or not with the new streaming services. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's just like a social thing. You said social experiment, but like I don't know. To me, I miss the like tangible, like just being able to do it or like hold it kind of thing. Like I used to love going to Blockbuster and the video stores and stuff when I was younger, and I'm like a movie collector now, and I have a bunch of like Blu-rays and DVDs at home. And like a ton of people ask like, why would you get that when you get it for free on streaming or something like that? And it's just like. If you're a collector and you enjoy that and like you appreciate those things, it's different. I know it's like not too many people out there that are like that because they think streaming's just made everything so much easier. But to me, that's something that's just like cool, and I appreciate that. I'm a collector, I guess, in that regard. But like the streaming, to me, it just takes the fun out of all of it. Like every time I go out to the movies with a friend, it was like an event. It was something to look forward to. And like I'd go on like a weekly basis with some of my best friends when I was still at Hazleton and in high school. Once we got our licenses and stuff like that, any excuse to go see a movie was like a cool one. And then I mean, it's definitely probably put me in the tank debt wise for money because it would lead from going to the movies to Applebee's after if it was past 9 o'clock. You gotta get those half price apps and whatnot.
Get the wings.
Yeah, the wings or a McDonald's drive through, Wendy's, Taco Bell, like you name it, we did it. We still do it. When the chance arises, I feel like all the money that I would have been spending on going to the movies now has just been transferred onto food, like going out with friends to go through drive-thrus or again Applebee's or anything like that that's in the area.
How'd you spend on Amazon?
Or Amazon. Amazon's a good one too. I've been trying to cut back and just get things that I essentially need.
Cut back. It's around Christmas season. You're gonna be spending again.
That's the thing too. Yeah, everybody's you're gonna get gifts for everybody now and whatnot.
What is a good gift for movie fans right now? If you're gonna buy for your like movie fanatic friends, what's a good gift you're gonna give them?
I guess you can't get them a gift card to the movie theaters.
No. That'd be a sick joke, though. That'd be a sick joke.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, Bloom's is still open, not as much, and there's not much of an option. But I don't know, the coolest thing, I guess it would be like any kind of memorabilia or like collectible item at this point. I don't know, like a subscription to a streaming service would be kind of like, I wouldn't find that too enjoyable because I don't know. Like I said, I just like streaming services. Yeah, they have their use and everything, and they're worthwhile. But to me, it's just a different feeling when you're like out there. So I don't know what the best gift would be. I mean, what would you say?
I don't know. I like those Funko Pops lately.
Yeah. Okay.
I have one back here. I don't know if the camera can see it, but
I
got a Wolverine one.
Oh, okay.
Bring it out here.
All right. Cool. That's awesome.
Wolverine. I got that actually for quite a few of my buddies. Not the same one, obviously. I went based off whatever, so I got like Star Wars ones and other I think I got a Sherlock Holmes one too.
Oh, that's cool.
For my buddy. So we're gonna run an ad real quick, introducing what we're gonna do on this channel coming up forward, or past projects too. So we're gonna give a quick break and then we'll be back with the final question.
This is all your fault.
You never hurt anyone.
Lauren? I ask you one thing. Stay away from Kate Clemens.
We're back with the final questions here. I know I said question, but we're going to switch it to two real quick. There was a quote that I had heard watching Film Courage. I don't know if you ever watched Film Courage, the YouTube channel.
No,
I would encourage it. Encourage Film Courage,
Yeah.
like that. So what I would... I'm sorry. I saw like a face made. What happened, Connor?
No, because in my head I was thinking the encourage thing, and then I looked at you, and then you made the same joke, and I was like, ha.
Well, I appreciate that. That's probably staying in the cut for this podcast. Anyways, no, I just saw Connor's face over there like lighting up. I was like, oh man. So the quote was, "The fear of being rejected leads people to rejecting themselves." And not only can that be kind of life in general, but his reference, which I find it more to life, but his reference was specifically with screenwriting. That's what his episode was. I wish I had the name of the person that was speaking. Film Courage does a bunch of interviews, so they talk to behind the scenes and writers and stuff. What he talked about when referencing this was he knows how the Hollywood model is. So you don't really want to, like, we all think that writing for a studio means like creating yourself, your personality, what you put in all your work. But the longer you stay in the field, it's kind of like writing for what the studio knows that they're going to produce. They have like a specific style.
Yeah.
So the fear of getting rejected with your script is kind of like rejecting yourself.
Yes.
You know, and what you stand for in your personality. And I thought that was an interesting quote. That's why I'm reading it. But I want to know, do you feel... You don't have to speak, obviously, like on the mainstream spectrum.
Yeah.
But is there anything like when you're writing, you feel like, oh, I can't put this in there? Like you wish that you could be your true self, and why do you choose these decisions?
So, just like on a basic, like ground level start with that question, I'd say that it's harder to start than it is to continue. And what I mean by that is like to just actually sit down and write. And like once you get into that like mood, that setting, and like you see what's, you know, actually in your head, you can sit down and write a lot easier. That's what I've come to find. I know the question's a little bit different than that, but I think that that's a good tidbit to add in regards to the question. Honestly, I've kind of, the thing that I have the struggle with the most is not writing like I'm myself. Like I always feel like I incorporate a character in there that's me, but it, like, I'm not everybody else. Like I need to, like, one screenplay I want to have like someone like me or like based off me in there. That's like the first one I'm writing on or have been working on now. But in future screenplays, like I want them to be a different character, have maybe some of the same like personality traits or, you know, characteristics or things like that. But I want them to be their own character, not try to be like a variation of me or something like that. And I want them to stand on their own. And that goes for like writing for both like guys and girls. You know, it's hard to put yourself like in a different gender and see, like, if you're a guy writing a story about a girl, like obviously it's going to be a little bit harder, or vice versa. So you got to try to put yourself in that perspective as well, and you know, get advice. I think that quote is very influential. It's very interesting actually, because, and you asked too, like you know, on a personal level, I guess, as well. You know, have you ever been afraid to put like yourself in there? I wouldn't say so at all. You know, I feel like everything I've written has been me. There are ways to work around what you might be afraid to put in there as well. Like I know, obviously, without, you know, getting political or anything like that, like everything, times have changed. A lot of things are PC. So you do have to be careful in those regards. But then again, there's still ways to poke fun at a lot of things that aren't maybe as mainstream or as allowed anymore in like smart and creative ways. Like if you have a confused character, I mean, I know I brought up Borat before, like for example, like you don't see anybody complaining about Borat because his character is like from another country and he's confused and he doesn't get what America's like. So when he does funny and like crazy things, like nobody really questions it. It's just a laugh. Like that's an example of how to, I guess, do that kind of thing without going too far. But like being afraid of like, can you read that quote one more time? The
fear of being rejected leads people to rejecting themselves.
So, yeah, I feel like the only way to stand out as a writer is if you're, you know, you write with what you've got and you write what you want instead of writing what someone else wants to hear. Because the few screenplay books that I have read, they haven't been many, but I need to read a lot more. But the ones that tell you if you're trying to write like according to what someone else wants to hear, it's going to be not what you want, not what they want, and you're not going to expect it to be that. You're going to think like, oh, that's what they want to hear, they'll love this, but that's not the case. Like we've seen too much of the same thing. There's a bunch of screenwriters that never make it out there. I'm not saying I'll be one that will. I mean, like, fingers crossed, hopefully. But, you know, I think that the only way that I'll ever stand out is if I just write with what I know and what I, like, you know, appreciate, what I find funny, what I find scary, what I find dramatic, what I find, it's what I find that I hope will be able to be transferable over to someone else. And that's not to say that, like, you know, there's a ton of people that sell scripts too, and then they end up getting changed through, like, you know, the studio rewrites and things like that, and it's not what the original writer had intended, or, you know, the story's taken but conveyed a different way with the director. You know, there's a process to it all. But I think that if you write what you want to see, what you believe, what you imagine, if you write how you can see it yourself and successfully know how to do so and use the tools available to you to convey that same picture to someone else that will be working on it, then I think you succeed and you have no reason to fear failure. So
Never sell your artwork.
Yeah.
Unless, even, like, there's handshake agreements all the time that fall straight through. I mean, you can look back at the history of what George Lucas went through when he sold to Star Wars. So, I mean, my advice moving forward in the future, I will never sell myself short, basically, in that essence. And, you know, handshake agreements mean nothing. But I'm going to put you on the spot here, okay?
Okay.
So if you pitch a movie to a studio,
Mhm.
okay, and, like, you write these characters, you take the time, you script out the story, and the character or the studio asks you, yeah, we really like this film, we'll make it a movie, but can we change the fundamentals behind it? Are you taking the deal?
Is that meaning, like, the entire story or just one aspect of the story, or is that just, like, a general question?
It's a general question. I want to know, at what is your breaking point between, like, saying no and saying yes?
So there are passion projects that I have, and then there's ones that, although there are ideas that I have that I feel like studios would probably, like, gobble right up, or so. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, befool myself or anything like that. You know, I have you know, two variations of these stories. The ones that I consider passion projects that, you know, I can't see being anything other than what I write, those are the ones that I hope to one day make myself, have my hands on, direct, hopefully myself. Then there's the ones that I don't care about as much, but I can see myself writing if, you know, with more practice, more experience. Those are the kinds of ones that I'd hope to just sell. And the thing is, I'm going to have to work on those, I don't want to say first, but those are the ones that I'm going to have to push forward first, because you don't want to go out on your best with your, you know, I don't know what the expression is, but you don't want to, like...
You don't want to start with your best.
You don't want to start with your best. And I don't want to do that, because I want to get to the point where, like, hopefully I'd be respected enough, that I'd be trusted enough that I can do what I want to do and, you know, portray it how I want to portray it and not have any, but, like, interference in that regard. So with those, you know, screenplays that I just think could be, like, you know, not nonsense. Like, I want to give myself to everything I do, but they're the ones that I just don't care about as much. Those I'd, you know, start out with, hopefully make an impression with those, show my writing ability. That's the one thing I feel like I succeed in. And then from there, transition into hopefully being able to make my own work and show my own work. Because, you know, if the ones that I do really, truly, passionately care about, it's not, like I said, not to say that I don't about the others, but just more so these ones, if I were to sell them or, like, you know, have someone, like, a handshake agreement or something like that, and then it not be what I want, I'd be devastated. My life's work would just be like that, and I'd have no control to have her portray. Like, I feel like, getting off topic, but Zack Snyder's one of the very few people, but that's because he has a lot of respect, that he's been able to get his vision across with the Snyder Cut now that's coming out, and, like, that was almost not even a thing, and he's, like, a very elite director up there. So, like, someone like Kevin Walker from Berwick, Pennsylvania probably would not get that chance, that if he were to sell a script to Hollywood, you know, on a long shot, and then it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, it's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, now you get your chance and you get to film the same thing. Like, they'd have the rights to it. All of that would be stripped away from me, and I would never get the chance to see it or, you know, have it be conveyed the way I wanted it to be. So,
I mean, you do have the option not to sell it, though.
yes, and that's the thing. I will not sell myself short, like you said. I don't want to sell anything that I am very passionate about. It would be those, like, starter projects first, I think, that I would start off with.
We will wrap this up real quick with, give us a little bit of outline of what you want your future plans to be.
So, this is interesting because a lot of things are new this semester. I know actually the very first podcast that I was just thinking about this earlier today. The very first podcast I was on with you back in, I think it was February or March, one of those. I said I had some possible news and that I would report back on it if it ever came to fruition. I didn't want to like jump the gun. It's not breaking.
Is this breaking
news? No, it's not.
Make
It's
sure
not
the
breaking.
camera.
No, it's not.
Give him the close up.
It's not that big of news, but
Here it comes.
it's just it's a little
Second
bit.
microphone.
It's a little bit different than I had intended. I don't mean to make myself sound anything more than I am with what I say here. But it was something that I had thought about a lot, and I had a lot of influence from family and a lot of conversations with family and friends about it that had helped me along with it and getting into it. But I joined Air Force ROTC this semester, and that's why I'm spending a 5th year in school. So that, to me, is like a huge step, at least in my life. I'm hoping to go I'm looking into public affairs right now, or another one was possibly broadcasting, but public affairs would be number one, like becoming a public affairs officer within the Air Force. And that, through relaying information from the Air Force to the public, there are different ways to do that. One of those ways would be like, news or, work with cameras and things like that. So I don't know all the ins and outs of it. There are guest speakers all the time that I'm trying to listen and constantly engage with, ask questions with, trying to ask questions to my peers, people above me. So that's something that has put me in a position now where it has truly made me think, but also something that I wanted to do. Like, obviously I thought about it beforehand, that after I graduate, hopefully I successfully complete the program. I'm just finishing out the first semester in it, so God's only to say that I don't finish or anything like that. I don't know. But I'm very interested in it. I feel very dedicated to it thus far. I can improve a lot. That's an understatement. There's so much I need to improve upon, and I definitely didn't do as good as I could have done this semester with it. But with that being said, if I successfully graduate as an officer, I would hopefully, at the minimum, I'd have to serve 4 years. I'm contemplating whether or not I want to serve, more than those 4 years. I have to see if I like it.
Make it like a lifelong career.
Make it a career, or I was thinking maybe even go to 10 years or go to 20 years. Like, I know 20 years is usually like that like max retirement age, or not max, but like a lot of people retire after I always hear put in your 20 years and retire. A lot of benefits and perks come after that. But there's a lot of, it's a guarantee, after I graduate, that I'd have a job and benefits and, things like that. I like that. I value that and appreciate that. And I appreciate and value and respect the heck out of anybody else that serves. And that was kind of just something that, motivated me to want to do that. I never thought that I'd be ready or want to, or even be like dedicated enough to put myself in any of those shoes. And that's, like I said, that's not to say I'm going to be far from the front lines. I'm not trying to discredit or make myself sound like anything more than I actually am. But it's something that I am passionate about right now, and what I really look forward to. But with that being said, I consider it a stepping stone. It was originally my plan B. Like, if film and video didn't work out, military of some sort. But then as time went on and I thought about it longer and longer and pondered about it, I was like, well, I could probably have the best of both worlds and do both plan B and plan A if I do it right. So I really looked into it. I talked to a lot of different people, spent a couple of months thinking about it, up until the point where I reached out to people at Penn State and stuff, and then try to become a part of the program. And I kind of lost my track of thought there, sorry. But moving forward, my plan was to serve at least those 4 to 10 years, and with that, after that, hopefully having enough money to have paid off any student loans or anything that I might owe my parents or whatnot, or anybody else that's helped me out along the way. And
that you mean get a new car.
Yeah, possibly a new car too. But also just have the ability to move to a city. Not that that's going to put me in any position that I'm an automatic filmmaker or anything like that, but I think a city is a better place to have an experience or get a chance. And what I'd like to do is work on some projects of mine that I plan to write or have written, small things like short films. Start out with short films and small stories and things like that. and actually have enough money to pay, like a crew or small group of people or something like that to, help me edit, produce, direct, anything like that, or pay actors and stuff, and then also have the money to submit those films to film festivals and things like that and get that feedback. Because there's no way you just walk right into Hollywood and have your foot in the door immediately. It's a long process. I've watched many videos on YouTube of people talking about the process to get there, from people that started out as nothing, people that started out as had a family member. There's like different ways to go about it. I don't have a family member, so. And that's not to discredit the people that do. They probably work just as hard as well. But, I'd be starting out from the bottom. But I'd have a Penn State connection, which is nice because it's a very nice networking opportunity. And there's a lot of alumni that have come through successfully from Penn State. Like I know Ty Burrell from Modern Family, Keegan-Michael Key from like Key and Peele. I forget what her name is, but the blonde on Good Morning America. I think Laura something. I could be wrong, but there's been quite a few people that have come from Penn State. Not to say that I'm going to have those people as connections or anything like that, but I think what I've done so far successfully is just kind of try to line myself up the best way possible to at least have a chance at what I'd like to do. So hopefully that is the plan. That is the goal, to start off with the Air Force and then hopefully transition into that. But then the thing that is very complicated as well is that I'm not going to be young forever, and I would like to start a family sooner than later. Not like anytime soon, but I don't want to start one when I'm 40 or 50 either. So that would be a challenge, and it's hard to say what lies ahead in the future, but that's just a game plan as of right now. So we'll see how it all turns out.
Well, I applaud you for having that second option to fall back on. Yeah. A lot of people, especially in our generation, let alone they can't decide what they want to do with the first thing in their life, let alone have a fallback plan. So I applaud you for that. On top of that, and I think the most important thing, and I'll speak on my cousin's behalf. I'm not speaking necessarily for him, but he's in the Air Force as well, mm-hmm. and going to all of these different places, these different countries that you could travel to, mm-hmm. different bases. You're going to get a better experience too with the writing side of things, because the more experiences you have in life,
yes.
the more you hear other people from normal stories, the more stories you can write and characters you can craft in your own stories as well. And that's going to give you such a bigger opportunity than maybe normal people would. I mean, I've been in this town.
Yeah.
I haven't really left. I left to go to college a little bit, but even still was in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So you're obviously going to have more experiences than me. But don't forget that no matter what experiences you have, you either write them down like you're continuing to do, whether you're texting them to yourself, emailing to yourself, keeping a journal. Keep all this stuff, because that's going to be valuable information for not only, and a lot of people do contacts too, like they keep little books that they can actually write down contacts. Don't forget to do that stuff. That's going to be important down the road, and that's how you're going to improve not only your writing but your storytelling experience, because you've actually lived it and know people that have lived it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great plan for you in the future. So
nice.
Kevin, thank you for joining me on this podcast. We ran over a little bit, guys, but remember to check out the Sheet of Hope channel, the rest of our podcast. Thank you. God bless.